Kakadosh, Boker Or. Baba Haki walked in. Daf Yomi, Masechet Zevachim, Daf Nunvav Amud Aleph, 56a1. Says the Gemara, Tani Tana Kamed Rav Nachman. We learned in front of Rav Nachman. Kol Azara Hayita Mea Ushmonim Vasheva Al Rochav Mea Ushloshim Vashesh. Right? Vachamesh. What does that mean? He says 130, 100, sorry, Mea Ushmonim Vasheva, 187. Right, amot, by 135 amot, correct? So he comes and he says, right, like this. He says, so it's 130, 187 by 135. Amaleh, he says, Hachi Amaliyah, but this is what my father said. Kegon zeh, this is the case, right, which is basically going to be even the size of the Azara, the Ulam, the Hechal, the Kodesh Kodashim, everything. So he says, Kohanim nichnasim l'sham v'ochlin sham kodshei kodashim. So the Kohanim could go in there and they could eat kodshei kodashim. V'shohatin sham kodashim kalim. They're going to do shechita to kodashim kalim. Chavim ala mishum tum'ah. So if you went into there, you're going to be chayav mishum tum'ah. So says the Gemara, lemiute mai. What's he coming to exclude then? You're telling me that this is the shetach. How do you see the shetach? This is the area. Thank you. This is the area of basically the Kodesh, or not the Kodesh Kodashim, but the Shekhinah, the Bet HaMikdash. So you've got the entire thing, and even though you've got this parts, and it's behind the Hechal and behind the Kaporet and behind everything that you want, right? You're still allowed to do all these things. So what is it coming to exclude? Ilema, if you're going to tell me now, it's coming to exclude the Chalonot, which is basically that they used to have Chalonot on the Chomat Azara, or the Dlatot of the Azara inside. The Ovia Choma, the thickness of the wall. Tanina, we already learned it. Yeah, we learned it in the Mishnah and Psachim. HaChalonot ve'ovia choma kilifnim. That the Chalonot, which are basically the Chalonot. What? The Chalonot, right? He says ve'ovia choma, right? Which is going to be the thickness of the wall, is like on the inside. What do you mean the inside? Right? It says over here, they're going to be Kodesh with Gdushat Azara. Okay? So he comes and he says, so therefore, we already know that it's holy. So it means even the thickness of the window, because maybe you could say, okay, fine, maybe the windowsill is already, on the outside. No. Everything's on the inside. It's kilifnim. And the same halacha to do with the door. Yeah? Yeah? So, ve'ela, but rather, lemiute, leshachot. Yeah? You see, I took a Gemara in English or something. Yeah? So he says, but rather, it's coming to exclude the leshachot. Right? Everyone knows what the lishka was? The lishkot, right, was... Yes, the chambers. If you remember, we had many different chambers. And some of the chambers, right, he says were on the side of the Azara. So they were built outside of this shetach, of this area. And therefore, what we're saying is that it's not going to be kedusha. It's not going to be kadosh. Okay? So says the Gemara... No. Yeah, says the Gemara. No. Yeah, Nunva, 56a1. Yeah? So he says, "V'i benuyot bechol ubtuchal lakodesh." But if it's built in the chol and it's open to the kodesh, vatnan tuchan kodesh. So therefore, it is kodesh. What's going on? Everyone understood what happened? One more time. You had certain places which were on the outside. So if you take the picture, we have a picture here, no? Do we have a picture? You got parts which are outside. Tzadim. Achshav. Here it's written, if you've got the parts which are on the outside of the Bet HaMikdash, as long as it has an entrance to the Kodesh, it's still Kodesh. So for example, here you've got certain things, but it's on the inside. But then you've got things which are on the outside. You understand? So what happens in such a case? So here he says, 1 second, but we said that if it's going to be in the outside, it's not kadosh. So says the Gemara, what are you talking about? If it's banui bechol, if it's built on the outside, which is in the part of the chol, but it's open to the kodesh, it is kodesh, right? Nunvav Amud Aleph. Yeah, we're on 56a2. So answers the Gemara, midrabbanan. That's only going to be midrabbanan. It's not going to be midoraita, meaning it's only midrabbanan that it's kodesh. Yeah, very nice picture. That's the main picture. Yeah, that picture. So says the Gemara, Udeoraita lo. You're going to tell me Doraita no? He says, Vatanya, we learned in the Braita, Leshachot abnio bechol ubtuchol hakodesh minayin shekohanim nichasim l'sham v'ochlin sham. How do you know that you're allowed to go in there and eat? Kodesh kadashim shurim mincha, tamul lomar b'chatzarom od yochlua. Right? What does that mean? Torah ribta chatzerot arbeh etzel achila achat. So something incredible. Everyone understood, right? Imagine like this, right? Mordechai, tachshavu kulam. We're talking about right now. I've got an entrance. The Bet HaMikdash is only the Bet HaKnesset, right? But the fact that this door, ze betoch the shetach of the Bet HaMikdash, even though this is a side extension, this is holy. Here you're allowed to eat, you're allowed to do everything. Ki'ilu you're in the Bet HaMikdash. It's a big chidush. Yeah, that's what they learned from the pasuk.
These are like
extensions? Yes, it's extensions. As long as it's open to the kodesh, as long as it's open inside.
What does it mean open? Does it have an opening to the kodesh?
Yeah. As long as it has an opening inside the Bet HaMikdash, this has an opening to the Bet HaKnesset.
So this would be
extension. Even though this is outside already, this is considered an extension. Oh, and you're allowed to eat, and you're allowed to eat here Kodesh Kodashim, and you're allowed to do everything like as if you're in the Kodesh.
The test, huh? What time is this?
Yeah, 1 minute. 1 minute.
We're fast before the tefillah, because
no, don't worry about it. Amar Rava comes and he says, Lachila shane. Yeah, he says like this. He says, Lachila. Yeah, Lachila is going to be different. Yeah. So he says like this. He says, Aval, however, though, which means that only to do with Achilat Kochim is different, but not to do with if you went inside and you're Tameh. Meaning the only thing that we spoke about the extension is that you're allowed to eat inside this place.
Unless you're not.
No. You're allowed to eat Kochim. That yes. But what happens if you come into this place and you're Tameh?
Yeah.
So in such a case, you're not Chayav. Because it's not the actual Bet HaMikdash. So you're not Chayav. So says the Gemara, Aval Inyan Tuma lo. והתניא we learned to the Braita, לשכות הבנויות לאכול ופתוחה לקודש, כהנים נכנסים לשם ואוכלים משם קודשים, ואין שוחטים שם קודשים קלים, וחייבים משום טובה, you are חייב משום טומאה. And there we said it מפורש. So says the Gemara, לא אמרת, אין שוחטין, נמי, אין חייבים? Didn't you also say that you don't do אין שוחטין, that you don't do שחיטה? So also we learned, אין חייבים, you're not going to be חייב משום טומאה. Which means that we have to actually say אין חייבים משום טומאה, not חייבים משום טומאה. We have to change the Braita. The Braita said that you're going to be חייב if you go in with טומאה, saying no, really, you're not going to be chayav. So bishlema and shochatin. I understand that you're not allowed to do the shechita. Ba'ina keneged the petach, because you have to do the shechita of kadashim kalim opposite the entrance of the oil moed. Veleka, and it's not opposite the entrance of the oil moed. But en chayavim tumah. Why? Amai. Why are you not going to be chayav tumah? So says the Gemara. Velitamech, and according to you, en shochatin she'ata lo yechol lasot shechita shama. Milo askinan di ka shechita keneged the petach. Are we not talking about she'ata asita tashchita, right? We're not talking about that you did the shchita keneged the petach. So what's going on then? What's the problem? So he says the leka lamaitzek. So why do you need it for? He says ela af al gav de kashachi keneged. Even though you're doing it in front of the petach, tanien shochati mishum delo kadish. It's not holy. So taninami en chayvim. That's what we taught in chayvim, which means only to do with eating of koche kadashim. That's the only thing that was added. So to merit hacheder hazeh ze rak legabe achila. של קודשי קודשים, שום דבר אחר, nothing else, no שחיטה, no טומאה, everything, זה חול, it's a not holy place, okay, only to do with this, okay, so he says, right, ולאכילה לא בעינן כנגד הפתח, he says, 1 second, you only need opposite the פתח, כנגד הפתח של אוהל מועד, רק לגבי השחיטה ולא לגבי האכילה, he says, why? also by the האכילה, והתניא we learned to the Braita, רבי יוסף רבי יהודה אומר, שני פשפשים היו בבית חליפות, שגובן 8, that the height is going to be 8, right? כדי להכשיר את העזרה לאכילה קודשי קודשים, in order to be מכשיר לאכילה קודשי קודשים, ולשחיטת קודשים קלים. אמר רבינה come and he says, שמים מכאן אכילה, you have to take off the אכילה. Take away the אכילה, okay? says the גמרא והכתיב, יצאתם משול את הבשר בפתח המועד, ושם תאכלו אותו. That you have to cook, right, the בשר בפתח המועד, and there you're going to eat it. So he says, it's mashma, you're allowed to eat it there. כן? אתה אוכל את זה שמה. So he says, קודשי שעה שנה. He says, that was only a one-off. זה היה חנוכת המזבח, זה פעם אחת. פעם אחת, there's an exception to the rule. So to minute, it's a one-off. One-offs are different. Okay? אמר רבי יצחק ברב דימי. says רבי יצחק ברב דימי, מניין לדם שנמצא בשקיעת החמה. How do you know that the blood of a קורבן, זאת אומרת, יש לך דם של הקורבן. How do we know that by שקיעת החמה, by sunset, it becomes פסול? So to minute, once it becomes שקיעה, קדיש. You did shchita, you did the korban, Kibalta tadam, you receive the blood. Once it becomes shekia, now the blood you can't use anymore for sprinkling. How do you know? Shneimar biyoma krivo zivcho. It has to be the same day. Oto yom chayav liot. So it has to be the same day that you're going to do it. So he comes and he says, ביום שאתה זובח אתה מקריב, ביום שאי אתה זובח אתה מקריב. אתה רק יכול להקריב את הדם באותו יום שאתה עשית את הזבח. That means the same day that you do the shchita, that's when you're allowed to bring the blood. The second that it's another day, נגמר הסיפור. That's it. You can't use it anymore. So says the Gemara, Haimi Baile, I thought we needed it for something else. Nun Vav Bet. Right? 56b. Right? I thought we needed legufe. What do you mean legufe? That you've got for the shlamim that it's going to be eaten shnei yamim v'layla echad. Right? So therefore that's what we learned. Right? What does it mean shnei yamim v'layla echad? That it's going to be extra to teach you that. So answers the Gemara, Im ken if so, Nema Kra, the pasuk should have said, Baruch. If so, the pasuk should have said, Biyom zivcho yachel hakrivo lamali. Why did it say biyom? Why did it say in the pasuk? Yeah, how was it written? It said biyom hakrivo zivcho yachel mimachorat. Biyom zivcho, right? Biyom zivcho yachel hakrivo lamali. Why do I need hakrivo? So Shema Mina comes teach you bayom shata zoveach ata makriv, bayom sheyata zoveach iyata makriv. You're only allowed to bring it bayom shata zoveach. אבל אם זה לא ביום שאי אתה זובח, אתה לא יכול להקריב את זה. So he says, only that means if you're not bringing it that day, right, it doesn't help. Right? So he comes and he says, maybe the Torah is teaching you. If you bring the blood now, so eat it now. And also for tomorrow. But if you only bring the blood tomorrow, so then meaning maybe it's only when that the blood starts to count the timer. Everybody understood the time. Everyone knows the timer. You know, the olden days, right? They used to have, you know, like right? They have it nowadays for fun also. The flipping, you know, it's like it's a what is it? It's a timer, right? Of sand, a sand clock, right? So what is it called? Yeah, sand clock. Yeah. So what happens? You come, you put it, and it starts going down. So I would have thought that matai shata makriv et adam. That means when you're not shchita, when you do the dam, that's what starts the timer. Starts the timer means that if you did it today, so the timer starts today. But if you started the timer only tomorrow because you did the sprinkling, the zrikat adam rak lemachar, so to minute, I would have thought the saying that it's only it's starting the timer. That's all that you're doing. So he says, right? If so, name a card. So the pasuk should have said, "Biyom akrivo yachel mimachorat." Zivcho lamali. Why do I need zivcho? Shema mina bayom shata zoveach ata makrivo, bayom sheyata zoveach makrivo. The fact that you had the extra word. זאת אומרת, היה מילה מיותרת, ביום זבחו. מה זה זבחו? שאתה עשית זבח. מה זה זבח? שחיטה, ואז אתה מביא את הקורבן. So he says, the second that it's written zivcho, it comes to teach you that the second that you did the shchita, now you start the counter. Now you start the timer. Right? עכשיו אתה מתחיל. Okay? Itmar, it was stated. Ha'hashev le'or shlishi. If you're going to think when you're doing the shchita of the shlamim, that you're going to eat the meat by right belela shlishi, which is already too late. Chizki amar, it's still going to be kosher. Rabbi Yochanan amar, it's going to be pasul. Remember, this we're talking about chutz lizma no, because we're talking about achila chutz lizmano. Chutz lizmano becomes so then pigul, not pasul. Pasul is chutz limkomo. Right? It's also pasul, but it's also pigul. What's the difference between pigul and pasul?
Zman.
Zman or mekomo, that's how you make it. But what's the difference? Karet or not? Remember that if a person does pigul, it's karet. If a person does pasul, it's just pasul, but there's no karet. Right? So pigul is much stronger. Okay? Chizkiya amar. Chizkiya says kasher. Why? Hadeha lo imtik lisrefa. He comes and he says, right? He says if it was going to be left behind, it's going to be asur ba'achila, but it's not going to be mitchayev lisrefa de la boker. So therefore, even though machshava that you thought was chutz lizmano, but it doesn't make it into srefa. You don't have to burn it. So the fact that you don't have to burn it until the next morning, so it's not me'achuz pigul. It's not like 100% like that. Rabbi Yochanan says it's pasul teha'id chele ma'achila. He says it was pushed off for achila, meaning once it's going to be pushed off for achila, so that's it. It's not going to help anymore. It's going to be pasul. So he comes now and he says like this, Ha'ochel leor shlishi. What happens if he actually did eat on that night? Remember, זה שני ימים ולילה אחד. פה מדובר שאתה אכלת בלילה השני. Right? It's like a hotel, right? 2 days and 1 night. So you start, let's say you're going to the hotel tonight. So you're starting today, right? At whatever, even if it's going to be at 4 o'clock, but you're starting today, right? You've got the night time and then you got the next morning. Keilu zayom until Chadasef. So it's not even in 24 hours, the klum. Right? But that's the way it works, right? So you have Shnei Yamim, Belayla Echad. What happens now, the Laila Shani? The second day until Shkia. Yes, because after Shkia, it's already the next night.
But
okay.
You were allowed to do the zrika in the nighttime?
No, that's what we were just saying. You have to do the zrika during the daytime.
So if you do it during the daytime, it doesn't apply to the next day.
No, but the shlamim you're allowed to eat l'shnei yamim v'layla echad. Other korbanot, you're right. It's only dafka that same day. But right, because it's yom v'layla.
Shlamim,
right?
It's 2 days?
Yes, shnei yamim. Right, not only the shlamim, a lot of the korbanot, so which are kadashim kalim.
So the zrika is the push, the start?
No, the shchita is the push. That's what we just said. Okay? So here he says, but what happens if a person does eat balela shlishi, right? Balela shlishi. Chizkiah Omer is going to be patur. Why? Because you don't have to burn it. Right? Rabbi Yochanan says you're going to be chayav because now you're not allowed to eat from it. Tanya Kavatei Rabbi Yochanan, we have a proof to Rabbi Yochanan that it's pasul, that you're not allowed to eat it. He says, kadashim anechalim yom echad. When you have kadashim that are going to be eaten for 1 day, machshavin bedama mishtishka chama. If you did the shchita or you received the blood in order to come and to do it after shchita, after shkiat chama, it's already pigul. But the meat and all their limbs and everything is going to be after Amud Shachar, right? He says, but if it's going to be kadashim that are going to be eaten for 2 days and 1 night, for example, the shlamim, to do their flesh, of the second day, okay? So it comes out that the machloke between Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan is coming out to do with the korban shlamim. That even though we just said that the basar is going to become prohibited, right? Miyad immediately by shekiyat hachama, right, of the second day. Nevertheless, it's not considered notar until the next morning. Remember, notar is leftovers, and you have to ba'eshi saref, you have to burn notar. But the notar is only going to be the next leftovers the next morning, even though you're not allowed to eat from it. Okay? So Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the right. Yachol nechalin yor shlishi. I would have thought to say you're allowed to eat it that night. So he says, "V'dinu, it's a kavachomer. Zevachim anechalim liyom echad. When you have korbanot which are going to be eaten in 1 day, zevachim anechalim shnei yamim or 2 days. Ma zevachim anechalim yochad. Just like by a korban, which is going to be 1 day. Halayla acharehen. Give it to me. Right? Halayla acharehen. The next night is going to be af zevachim anechalim shnei yamim halayla acharehen. Talmud lomar comes to teach you, right? Vanotar ad yom. Right? Be'od yom unechal ve'eno nechal leor shlishi. So it's only going to be for that day, but not afterwards. So Yachol Yisaref Mihad. I would have thought to say that it's going to be burnt immediately. And it's a dinu, it's a kavachomer. Zevachim nechalim yom echad, zevachim nechalim shnei yamim. Just like the zevachim which are going to be eaten by 1 day, you have to burn it immediately. So to zevachim with 2 days, you should burn it immediately. Talmud lomar b'yom shlishi v'yisaref. You only burn it during the day, which is the next morning, but not during the nighttime. Meaning something very interesting. The ones of shnei yamim v'layla echad. Let's say today, so you do the shchita, so you're allowed to eat it all day. You have all night. You have all day tomorrow. Even though after the shkia you're not allowed to eat from it, but you don't burn it until the morning afterwards, because that's the notar, and that's when it becomes vayashi saref. You understood? There's a Mishnah.
He didn't do this 4 years.
Mishnah Nunvav Amubet 56b says the Mishnah. Habechor ve'amaaser ve'apesach kadashim kalim. Yeah, you guys listening? Habechor ve'amaaser ve'apesach are kadashim kalim. Shechitatan. Remember, bechor. That's right. Pilyom bechor. Right. We're talking about bechor of an animal. Yeah. Maaser. Right. We're talking about maaser be'ema and the pesach. Korban pesach. They are kadashim kalim. Shechitatan bechor makom al-zara. So since they're kadashim kalim, you could do shechita anywhere in the zara. V'damata u'matana achat. Here you only have to sprinkle once. Right? Because it says, right, it says, the damam is it's not written saviv. But it has to be in the kirot mizbeach that they have a yesod. Okay, that means you can't do it in the open one. You remember there was an open wall without the yesod. So it has to be dafka on the parts of the mizbeach that it has a yesod. Okay? Shina b'achilatan. It's different in the way that you eat them. Shabechor nechal kohanim. Bechor is only eaten by kohanim. Maaser is eaten by anybody. The chol adam. You could eat it in all of Jerusalem, Bechol ma'achal, any type of a food that you want to eat, lishay yamim v'layla echad, 2 days and 1 night. Exactly. A Pesach eno ne'echal v'layla. The Pesach is only eaten on the night, but it's only the night of Pesach. Ve'eno ne'echal al chatzot, and only until chatzot, right? Chatzot layla. Ve'eno ne'echal el minuyav. You could only eat it the people which are appointed to it, which means that you needed people that they were going to be signed up. You have to have a registration. Okay? Ve'eno ne'echal, huh?
Members.
Yes, members and the votes and everything, 100%. Yeah, Jean-Paul for president. Ve'eno ne'echal el atzali. And it's only going to be eaten, yeah? Yeah, ve'eno ne'echal el atzali. Right? And the Pesach could only be eaten roasted. Okay? Gemara. Gemara. Man Tana, who's the Tana that taught, right, that the Mei Be'emat Maaser v'Korban Pesach are going to be brought, thrown on the Mizbeach, right, from far away, right, and not like Shvicha Mikarov, meaning there's 2 ways of putting the blood on the Mizbeach. Shvicha, pouring, so that's going to be very, very close, or sprinkling, which is further away, and you throw the blood. So says the Gemara, yeah, he says like this. Amar Rav Chasa says Rav Chasa, Rabbi Yosef Lehi, so Rabbi Yosef Lehi, the Tanyans will learn to the right, Rabbi Yosef Lehi Omer, Chelbo lo ne'emar, ela chelbam. It doesn't say chelbo, it says chelbam. Damo lo ne'emar, ela damam. Limed al bechor maaser u'pesach sheteunu matan damim emunim legabe hamizbeach. So it's going to teach us that whether it's going to be the bechor maaser pesach, that they need matan damim, and the emurim by the mizbeach. Keneged ha'yisod menala. How do we know keneged ha'yisod? Amar Rabbi Elazar, says Rabbi Elazar, atya zrika me'ola. We need zrika from the korban ola, which means since we're learning v'zareku, so just like the ola has to be keneged ha'yisod, so he says, right, so too, also here, the bechor maaser and the pesach has to be keneged ha'yisod. So one more time. You have, but they only need matana achat, but you have the yisod, you remember, was a little tiny bit over here, the entire full wall, and then a little tiny bit over here. One amma. Much nothing. All this area didn't have a yisod, right? That's where the rank was going up, right? How do you call it? The ramp, right, was going up. So therefore, right, on this entire area, since there's no yisod, you cannot do the sprinkling of the blood over there. It has to be dafka where you have a yisod. Okay? Until here, clear?